Imagine turning 18 years old and being told, good luck, you're essentially on your own. That's the very plight of foster youth who, at age 18, age out of the system. It's a daunting time for the 23,000 teens. That's right, 23,000 teens who age out every year. They're often looking for direction and guidance and may not get it. Today's guest found herself in that very situation years ago. It was awful and challenging, and now she's working with a fantastic group called the I Can Foundation that works to give back to underserved children. Meet her next on Bayside. Good morning and welcome to Bayside. I'm your host, Shelly Sanders. We are talking to someone very special today about a phenomenal organization right here in the Bay Area serving our aged out foster children here in, they're helping all the foster children, but specifically focusing on those that have aged out. So without further ado, I want to introduce their spokesperson and inspiration. I love that they call you their inspiration. Elizabeth Sutherland, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get into your story. It's so inspiring. I understand why they call you the inspiration and spokesperson. But first, let's talk just a smidge about I Can Foundation until we get into how you became involved with them. I know I alluded to it in the open, but let's talk about it. What are they doing when it says that they're helping these children out, the underserved children of the Tampa Bay area?
Yes. So the I Can Foundation is a transformative at-sea mentorship program that serves youth that have aged out of the foster care system between the ages of 18 and 24. They go on an 80-day voyage throughout the Caribbean. And during their voyage, they will be visiting, up to 6 different islands. And while they're there, they will learn how to submerge themselves in the local culture. They're going to learn how to sail. They're going to learn what it's like to team and to rely heavily on one another. And so that's where they get the relationship piece, bonding. They're going to learn how to cook for each other. They're going to learn how to really navigate the Caribbean seas.
Sure. And these children, where are they coming from?
So I'm actively looking throughout the community in Tampa Bay and surrounding. I'm aggressively searching in the U.S. Just because I believe, every aged out foster youth deserves this.
But it is those that have aged out.
Yes.
So specifically, we are looking at 18-year-olds, correct?
Correct.
You're even entertaining those that maybe are 17. You know that they're coming up and into that what must be a terrifying, oh my gosh, next month I turn 18. I got what happens next. It's like diving off into the abyss. So with that said, you're looking for these youth, and it's understood to what they're learning. They're learning much more than how to sail, but I'm a huge fan of incidental learning, right? When you are doing something, one activity, but I'm learning something, and I'm learning how to trust, learning how to give my time without reciprocation per se, right? There's a lot of different moral even lessons there to be learned. But let's talk about what that's like for these teens. So I know we couldn't speak to a more important person, somebody that's had this experience. So let's talk about your story a little bit, and then come back to I Can and how that came to be.
Yeah, so my journey began when I was about 5. I was born in Spain, came to the States with my brother and sister to a small town in North Carolina, Waynesville, and this man, who I thought was my father, dropped my siblings and I off and just disappeared. And so from the time that I was 5 till I was 13, we lived with this woman who, was I thought she was my grandmother, but she wasn't. But she was very abusive. And so around the age of 13, I think you just kind of have enough. And that was when my journey began in foster care. And, you know, I didn't know what foster care was, but I knew that it had to be better than the situation that I was currently in. And I didn't realize that they would be separating, you know, all of us. I didn't understand that concept. But, you know, I continued through life, and at the age of 18, I aged out of foster care, and I was on my own. And there wasn't nothing about me prepared to be on my own.
What did that look like?
It was...
For those that have not experienced this, you're now turning 18. You feel that. You're coming up onto your 18th birthday. Where were you, and then what happened at that point?
Yes, so I was shy of 2 weeks from graduating high school. And I mean, you don't really think about, oh my gosh, I've got to figure out life. You know, at 18, you're so excited about graduating high school. This is a huge accomplishment. Then you figure out what's next. And for me, it was, I'm turning 18, you know, on June 9th. And then June 10th, I'm on my own. Like, that means I'm no longer in foster care. I am.
So were you living in a home at that time?
I was in a foster home.
Okay.
And so a lot of times what happens is when you turn 18, you know, you can either stay in extended foster care with some stipulations, or, you know, that's it. You're an adult. You're
whatever
just,
you came in with.
You're just,
bye.
Yeah. And so for me, you know, I started looking for an apartment, and I call myself a very unique person, and I'm one of a kind because I started working at 15, 16, started building money to have a car, because not having parents, I don't have anyone to fall back on to say, hey, I need help for, you know, a car or insurance. And so I started working and saving money. And so I had saved enough to be able to put that first down payment, actually buy a car straight out, and then work to get money for my first apartment. And it was that moment that I was like, oh my goodness, reality sets in, and I have my own space, you know, and I have this new responsibility that I wasn't prepared for.
Wow, for sure. And that's a lot, because now that you've accomplished this part, it's amazing, because now the next, whereas most kids are, the next step is, am I going to school? Am I going to trade school? What am I going to do next? Your next step was, oh my gosh, can I sustain? Can I continue to do this? I didn't think past this part, right? So many things, so many questions, and I appreciate you being here and telling your story. And for more information for you at home about the foundation that Liz works with, this I Can Foundation, you are looking at the website right there, doing phenomenal things, teaching life lessons and building relationships that last a lifetime. I-can-foundation.org. That is the website. You're looking at it right there. It'll have all the information about this wonderful organization and then some. But we're going to hear more from Liz when we come back after the break, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Bayside. I'm your host, Shelley Sanders. We've been speaking with Elizabeth Sutherland. We all call her Liz. However, we have been talking with her about her incredible journey and just all the things that she has gone through. And I'm telling you, we would need a feature length. Actually, that's a lie. We would need an entire, probably Netflix series to even talk about your story alone and your journey to the I Can Foundation. So for you at home, if you're just joining in, I Can Foundation doing amazing things for those foster children that have aged out of foster care. So Liz, when we left for break, you had just talked about the incredible fortitude that you had to just have that laser focus on, like, okay, I don't know, I don't have parents, I saved money. You did it. You bought a car. You put a down payment on an apartment. You had fresh out of high school, And oh my gosh, and then what's the next step? I'm sure it was a very gulp moment. Like, how? Now what?
Now what was the big question. But for me, it was, I realized while I was in foster care, it seemed like they kept taking everything from me, and I didn't have that one thing to focus on. And when I realized that one thing was education, I let that be my driving force. And so I ended up discovering that there's a community college nearby, and I really wanted to, be a crime scene investigator. And so that was like, I want to figure out that journey. So I went to the community college, got my AA degree, and then I was like, I don't want to just end here. And so I continued to press forward, and I discovered what a college or university was. And for me, I kind of looked at it in not the normal way that people normally do, but for me, I looked at it more of a safe haven, meaning I had a roof over my head for 4 years. I had food, I had that comfort that I'm not going to be figuring out where I'm going to sleep next.
All the things that normal or the majority of students take for granted.
Right.
Right?
Right. And so the college years were the best years of my life. And I was separated from my sister for 8 years. And so I was always wondering where she was. And little did I know that we were at the same college.
Oh, how wow.
And we reunified together my junior year.
Fabulous. So many things I want to ask you, and I'm sure there are hours and hours and hours of your lifetime and then some. So let's get to that moment where here you are, present day. We just fast tracked right to ICANN Foundation. Understanding your basis and your background, we understand why you're just so passionate about a project like this. Let's talk about that. How'd you get involved and what do you do?
Yes, so again, it's a very unique story, but I was sharing my life story on a Zoom call, and a philanthropist, board member of the ICANN Foundation, overheard me sharing my story. And to this day, he'll say he shouldn't have been, but I jokingly say it was meant to be. And we connected, and he's like, I have this sailing yacht, and just not sure what I want to do with it. And so after sharing my story with him, and he read my book, he came back and said, you're truly an inspiration, and we would love to, if you will allow us, to use your story, or my story, as to empower aged out foster youth today.
Love that. It's incredible. So do you have a story of someone that you've met, like some of these youth? I'm sure every one of them touches your heart because you've walked that life. Is there one that stands out in particular?
There's several because I see myself in their shoes, just turning 18. But there is one in particular. I, trying to find these young adults, I just went to Facebook and, learned Facebook groups, and I just put this out on a Facebook group message and said I'm looking for aged out foster youth. And in Colorado, there was an organization that reached out to me, and she was actually a former foster youth herself who is trying to do what I'm doing, is just keep sharing your story and path. And she reached out, got to learn more about the ICANN Foundation, and then she reached out and said, I have this young boy who he was on the verge because he was staying in an Airbnb, and it was ending, or I guess his time was up, and it was just perfect timing for him to come on this yacht. And I was so worried that we weren't going to have a bed for him, but all in the right time, and we did. And when I was able to call him on Zoom and tell him that we had a spot for him, he broke down in tears, and he was like, thank you so much. It was so moving. And I said, this is why I do what I'm doing, because it's for you. And he's thriving. I mean, when I first met him, he wasn't smiling. He didn't have anything to smile about. Right. And I kept telling him, I'm like, you got to smile because you have an amazing smile. Aww. And now, pictures I'm seeing, and just the connection, he's smiling.
How old is he now?
He's 18.
Oh, he's 18 still. Wow. So what I want to get into, and we won't get into it in this segment, but when we come back after the break, I want to get into that process. How do I get into this program? For those viewers watching, perhaps there's a foster child out there or someone who has children in their home, they're a foster parent, and are thinking, you know what, I've got one that's getting ready to age out. How do we get them involved? And I would love to have this happen. In the meantime, if you'd like to hear more about Liz's story, and it is incredible. I mean, this girl was on fire, and she's still making huge waves today. No pun intended there with the ICANN Foundation connection. If you want to know more about her, she's got a fantastic book, and it's so worth reading. No Ordinary Liz. You can buy it on Amazon. We'll get back to that when we come back after the break. In the meantime, you can learn about the ICANN Foundation when you log on. All right, we'll be back after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Bayside. I'm your host, Shelley Sanders. I've been talking with Miss Liz Sutherland, Elizabeth Sutherland. If you're looking for her book, No Ordinary Liz, it's an incredible story. I can't say enough about just you in particular. This foundation sounds extraordinary, to say the least. So you were in the infant stages here. They've got one trip under the belt and more to come. So let's talk about, like we promised on our way out to the break, let's talk about how do you get involved. From first and foremost, for those individuals that are staring at that, what do I do now? Oh my gosh, I have nothing. I don't know where to go from here. I'm 18 years old. I just aged out of foster care. I would love to be a part of this program, or even those approaching that deadline, so to speak. How does that individual get involved, or someone that knows someone?
Yes, so they go to our website and complete the application. And then from that point, I get to see all the responses to that application. And then I will reach out to that individual, kind of do like a mini interview, if you will, just to kind of get to know each other. And then from that point, the crew has a chance to connect. I always say, you know, we're inviting those into their house so they have a chance to meet who could potentially come on. And then once we get the green light, then we proceed with application passport application process. And then they need to be vaccinated. So we just kind of work through all of that.
So you walk them through the process, right? Okay, and then for those individuals that are thinking, wow, this sounds incredible, I would love to get involved. I know these kind of trips don't happen for free, right? So I'm certain that you won't turn down any financial assistance, and that's a hint, yes, for you at home. So financial assistance would be more than welcomed, for sure. So how does one go about that?
Yes, again, I pull it, go to our website, and there's donation section, and you can donate. And I do just want to preference that it's no cost at all for young adults to go on board. We cover all expenses, and that includes passport fees, and all that.
So for the foster children that are looking at, this is a possibility for me, right? Don't let the fear of a financial situation stop you from applying, correct? So what happens when they come back from these journeys? Are y'all there to kind of help? And of course, for you at home, you're looking at the website right there. If you'd like to donate to the ICANN Foundation or get involved somehow, perhaps you know someone or you yourself wants to be a part of this, by all means, log on to the website that you're looking at, i-can-foundation.org. So are you there with resources and stay connected with these kids once they come back after their 80-day journey?
Yes, so we are staying connected with them. So when they are back, we are working with our Foster and Success Foundation to help provide mentoring services.
So then it's more than just this journey. They're there to help you along the way should you need help. I-can-foundation.org. Check it out. We're going to break. As always, I want to thank you at home for joining us this week on Bayside. And of course, Liz, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. And I wish nothing but unlimited successes for you and the ICANN Foundation. If you'd like to get involved, to tell you every single week, get out and get involved in your community. By all means, get involved in this one. How wonderful is that? I-can-foundation.org. Check it out. And if anything, buy Liz's book, No Ordinary Liz. You can get that on Amazon. It's an inspiring, truly heartfelt story.